took pictures of that stadium and took pictures of the statues and stuff like that. I've been everywhere except for Orlando and Miami. So I got to get myself down there to Miami, especially Orlando next year when they open up Mario Land. So when they open up Mario Land, I got to go down there and put on the hat and eat the food, get on the rides, make sure I can fit on the rides, and stuff like that.
All right, champ. Let's go to Babyface Heel. Now, for those who may not know what Babyface Heel means in wrestling terminology, Babyface, good guy, heel, bad guy, tweener, in between Babyface and heel. So I come up with a list of athletes, and me and the panel, we're going to decide Babyface, heel, or tweener. Miles Garrett, Babyface.
Yeah.
Outside of that incident on Thursday Night Football when he snatched Mason Rudolph's helmet and then used it as a weapon and hit Mason Rudolph in the head, that's the only negative thing I've ever heard about Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett, if you listen to him, doesn't listen to rap music. Unlike most young black men, young or old black men, he doesn't use the N word. The man in his off time actually writes poetry. He listens to old school classic music, does a lot of he's very
Philanthropy.
philanthropy.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mouth. I'm tired of talking all day. Damn, I need something to
I mean,
drink.
you work hard as hell here. You work by 5 double shifts to about 2. So I'm just being real. You got a right to be damn tired.
I'll only be sweating if I'm looking at Lotto right now, but that's a story for another day.
Mhm.
But Miles Garrett, easily babyface. Great guy, and he's about to win 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and has a
Yeah.
chance to break Michael Strahan's record for the most sacks in a season. Michael Strahan and T.J. Watt's record.
Yeah.
So great guy. Not really controversial. Other, like I said, the Mason Rudolph incident. I have no other choice but babyface.
The same. Baby face, man. You can't look. If you're calling Miles Garrett a heel, you're just reaching at this point. Outside of that one incident, there was one incident. You know,
Can you
I
name
thought that
another?
you can't name another, and if you try to, you're reaching. So I mean, plus he's the heart of that team, man. And people who are gonna say, "Well, he took the money." You would have took it too. Just being real. And a lot of times, it's not just the money.
Shit, who wouldn't? Hell, if
Yeah,
hell, as hardworking as we are, if someone offered us more money than our wildest dreams and never had to work a day in our lives, hell, we take that.
yeah. And look, sometimes it's not just the money; it's comfort. I'm comfortable where I am. I'm comfortable where I am. And what's so funny about that is we say, well, Miles Garrett took the money. We didn't say that when Russell Westbrook took the money when he was in OKC and he won MVP. We called it loyalty, did we not? Did we not call it loyalty, considering that his best friend and Kevin Durant left and went to Golden State?
We call loyalty with Damian Lillard always staying in Portland.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's not just money, it's comfort. I'm comfortable. I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be bouncing all over the place trying to chase rings. Guess what? If I want to win and winning a ring in Cleveland, if he's able to win one or even make it to the playoff, even make it to the AFC Championship, that means a lot more than winning a Super Bowl somewhere else.
Especially for that fan base. And you saw the media there. You know how diehard them fan base and the media people are, but Miles Garrett, believe it or not, he actually wanted the Cowboys to draft him with the number one overall pick. That's a large part because he's from the state of Texas.
Yeah, him and Von Miller wanted to be drafted by the Cowboys.
Both Texas A&M dudes as well.
Yeah,
But Miles Garrett, great guy and a physical freak.
that's a specimen. That guy's a monster. Those are one of those guys that yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to box with him back in the day because yeah, I ain't scared to say this. I probably would have ducked him. Like, hey man, you got put a lot of stipulations on the match.
Well, I don't know if you want to duck this next opponent, the next person I'm bringing up for babyface heel,
Who's
James
that?
Harrison.
Babyface. I like James Harrison.
Some people will say tweener or heel because of how violent he was, the football player.
It,
But I can't name anything bad about James Harrison, the person.
look, the man is a look.
Plus, I love
Number
his
one,
podcast with him and Joe Hayden.
I love that podcast. And look, man, I love the fact that Debo's still strong. He's still strong. And look, he's not that big neither. When you think about, I'm talking about as far as height. He's only
Six
he's
one.
the he's the modern day version of Sam Mills. He's just a little bit taller. He's only 6 feet 5'11". He's not even that tall. But he's in freakish shape though. He was the heart of that team at one point in Pittsburgh. One defensive player of the year. And people always talk about the big hits or whatever. Those were the rules back then. Those
Let's
were the
not forget
rules.
that. Let's not forget that big play he made when he picked off Kurt Warner in that Super Bowl.
Exactly. Those were the rules back then. And as the rules started transitioning, unfortunately, our minds started transitioning with it. That's the thing. When those rules started changing, our minds started to change along with it. We started deeming textbooks tackles as dirty hits when it really wasn't. Those were just the rules back then. Those were just the rules. And unfortunately, in the middle of his career, those rules changed. It cost him a few suspensions here and there. But guess what? Those were the rules. And when you transition quickly from within those rules, hey, you're gonna have some hiccups here and there. It's kind of like telling me, hey, you can't do a podcast with a microphone stand. You got to hold it in your hand and do it like this the entire time. It's going to be difficult to transition from that rule. That's what they don't understand, especially with these defensive players. Rules get changed damn near every single year in order for them not to get the advantage. I'll never forget when Mel Kiper, of all people, tried to tell them to ban safeties high. So essentially, you're telling everybody to ban the cover two. They're always trying to give the offense the advantage. So his game had to transition. It did not transition well at first. And like I stated, when the rules changed, so did our minds at a certain point. We deemed a big hit that we saw, we deemed something that we saw as a big hit 2 years ago, we saw that as a dirty hit now. So it wasn't Rodney, that wasn't James Harrison's fault. And I like James Harrison, man. Workout guru, man, family man, speak tells it like it is. Big Debo. Gotta love a guy like that, man. Undrafted free agent, by the way. He was not drafted. True underdog story. Went from being an undrafted free agent to defensive player in the year of the year and a Super Bowl champion and a hero in a Super Bowl.
I'm just listening to what Richard Sherman had to say about Mo Kiper taking the high safety off.
What did he say?
He thinks he's selling. He was asked on his podcast, "You buying or selling?" He's completely selling. Just stick to the draft. Stick to what you do as a draft analysis. Don't even talk about this type of stuff, basically.
Oh man.
But all right, I got another one for Babyface heel.
Uh-oh.
MC Hammer.
Babyface.
Babyface. Listen, I'll
Babyface.
go. I'll go. Hammer did a lot of good for the community from Oakland. I thought Hammer too many times back then. He was unfairly treated wrong by his peers. Although you can say that's the evolution of gangster rap. But make no mistake about it. MC Hammer. You dare say a negative word about MC Hammer. Ask Redman, Outkast, ask MC Search from Third Base.
Yes.
Listen to Lord Jamar, Godfrey, Too Short, all them other people. The only wise person that chose not to say a negative word about MC Hammer is one Ice-T. MC Hammer is a babyface. What I love about him, he doesn't take no bullshit. Go ahead and say whatever you want about his outfits, his dances. You say one word about Hammer. Hammer got a squad. And he will whoop your ass as well. As you said, champ, what was your father said? A smile. A smile.
Ain't nothing but a frown turned upside
God
down.
damn.
So yeah, man. Look, Hammer was a real gangster. He was a
And
gangster.
plus, did you see the video of him and Suge?
Yeah, I saw that video, and that's how come Suge loved him because he was a real. You don't necessarily have to be in the street in order to be a gangster. You can be gangster in your own right. So,
No,
and
not
plus,
just not just that, champ. Suge Knight is 6'3", 300, over 300 pounds. Suge Knight is a former football player and bodyguard. And even MC Hammer wasn't even scared of Suge.
yeah, with that saying something because he scared the hell out of everybody else, including me. So,
And
no,
go. I know the Breakfast Club. You need to go listen to that story of what DJ Envy had to say.
yeah,
I will send you to YouTube, and you'll tell me later on in the private chat.
I will. Um, it's just unfortunate. Hammer was ahead of his time, man. That's the only thing that you can do it. And when you're ahead of your time, a lot of times you get a bad rap, man. Hammer was one of the first African American guys selling them kind of records in the hip hop community. He was the first of his kind doing that. I mean, he was it was so big that Vanilla Ice was opening up for him.
Yes, he
Yeah,
had to
stuff.
copy Vanilla Ice had to copy Hammer, the
Yeah,
outfits, all that other stuff.
yeah.
I think
So
didn't, and plus also wasn't Boys to Men at one point involved something with Hammer?
I think so, but I can't confirm. I have to look it up.
Because I
But
was watching it on VH1's Behind the Music. But Hammer, he did a lot of good for the community, man. He encouraged kids to stay off the streets, stay off drugs. He also had a TV show, a cartoon TV show, Hammerman,
yeah,
and plus Pumps in the Bump.
yeah. And look, man, look, I'm gonna just be real, man. When you give your whole community a job, and because at one point, because I'm trying to be real careful about how I say this, but at one point, Oakland was the crime capital of the world, and he was able to get all of his neighborhood off the street and give them jobs and feed an entire community. Unfortunately, you can't save everybody at a certain point because it comes at the expense of you. But I think they gave him a bad rap. Now that we know the story, he got a bad rap. And I think he got a bad rap in the hip hop community. I think that they did his ass wrong because guess what? Just because back then everybody want to stick, hip hop. Look, I don't think the audience understands. Back when I was a child, hip hop was considered a fad. It was underground music, and that's how come EPMD said, I stick to underground, blank the crossover. We don't want to be the crossover. And for him to be the first one to cross over and sell 15 million albums, and and what's so funny about that, he was selling underground before he got the major deal. He
Remember,
was one of
please
the first.
Hammer don't. Remember, please Hammer don't hurt him.
Yeah, he was the first one of the first hip hop artists who got the kind of deal that he did that was able to help him make all of that money. He made damn near $100 million. So yeah, and he told him, "Hey, I'm not going to be one of these guys who goes into the studio, does all the work, goes out to the concerts, and say, hey, you like it,' and then somebody else goes on with all the money." He was able to gain education from being friends with the former owner of the Oakland A's, hanging out
Yes,
with the former players.
Hammer and Hank Aaron. That's how he got the nickname Hammer.
Yeah. So being friends with a lot of those guys that were in the clubhouse that he was working at down there in Oakland, being able to hang out with them, see their contracts, hear about their contracts, you know, things of that nature. That's how come he had so much business savvy about himself. And, a lot of these rappers, they think a lot of middle America think these guys were just studs back then. No, these guys had actually education. And, Hammer was in the army at one point. Hammer was in the army at one point. So, yeah. And he was a man of God. So it was a lot of hats that he wore. So, but I think that if he was in the social media era or the era in the last 10 years or the last 20 years, he would have been the biggest. He would have been even bigger than what he was during the 80s and 90s. I mean, for him to be on the Addams Family soundtrack, for him to be on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack. I actually bought his tacos when they were
Taco when
selling
he
the
was on
MC
that
Hammer.
Taco Bell commercial.
Yeah, I actually bought his tacos from the MC Hammer taco commercials. I actually want to eat more Taco Bell rather than McDonald's because of MC Hammer. You know, had an endorsement with I think it was one of the sodas. I think it was Pepsi. I don't know for sure. Had
Pepsi,
an
I
endor-
think.
yeah,
Pepsi.
had an endorsement with Pepsi. One of the few acts to just really just cross over. And ironically, everybody who was calling them a sellout back then, they ended up doing the same thing in their future. You know, helping, getting major companies. So yeah, I think he was done wrong by his peers. And uh, although he doesn't get the credit that he deserved for this, but I applaud Suge Knight for taking a chance on Hammer during that time rather than ostracizing him like everybody else did.
Well,
And
well, Suge. In fairness to Suge, Suge knew the hammer came from the streets. Suge, and also the brilliant side of Suge, which you've often give a tremendous amount of credit for. And I think Hammer work. I mean, after all, Suge, you look at him, he wears red. People may assume he's a blood. Snoop, we all know he's a former Crip himself. And also to pair him up with Pac, in which he and Pac were building some type of relationship.
yeah,
Plus also the song too from Hammer, Keep On.
yeah,
Cause like Hammer talked about how he did a lot for his people, how people betrayed him, and how he was still, despite all of that, keep on.
yeah. But Hammer got a bad rap, man, and I hate that. You know that the fact when I was a kid, people always talk about, Hammer was broke. Well, no, I'm broke because I'm feeding everybody, not because I'm just out here, gambling and doing bull jive. I'm I went broke because, well, he didn't went broke, but he went, he had to file bankruptcy because
He was overspending though. I
he was
mean,
overspending. He was overspending. But like I said, a lot of that was to he said it best. He said it was no secret to nobody that I had over 200 employees. I wasn't paying them in cheeseburgers. Somebody was playing that payroll, and that payroll was me. And so, hey, man, look, you name a rapper that have employed 200 members of his community. I mean, there are billionaires that don't do that. There's
right.
billionaires that don't do that. And if you don't believe that, look at the damn economy, and we'll leave it at that.
You trying to get my show canceled? What? No, okay. Because again, they may assume. You know what? We won't even go there because there's a certain individual in office, but we won't go there. But
Yeah, the Cheetos, man.
Dorito, but that's about it. But Hammer definitely a babyface. Now we
Yeah.
can add another one for babyface or heel. Now he is a wrestler. He is a wrestler, but this has to do with him as a person, just a person. Bret the Hitman Hart.
You know what?
I probably lean towards tweener. Look, Bret. I love the fact that Bret is unapologetic and says whatever's on his mind, champ. But make no mistake about it. The moment you get him to talk about Goldberg, he'll continuously get on Goldberg's ass all the damn time. And plus, what he said about Vince and Shawn recently.
Look, I'm gonna say this: 1 minute and 30 seconds. I will never forget when they had him turn heel at WrestleMania 13 with Stone Cold,
Cause
and and him was just being just a whiny little something. And come to find out, that was his true character. I mean, it's just like, bro. And the thing is, I really think that Bret is one of the greatest of all time, but he's probably forgotten among he's unless you're a hardcore wrestling fan like we are, unless you're a wrestling savant, he wrestled in the lost generation. He wrestled during the new generation. And he left at the heels of the explosion. And by the time wrestling exploded, he was on the damn mid card. So the guys who were watching wrestling cheer for Stone Cold, and cheering for The Rock. They were no longer cheering for Bret the Hitman Hart during the Attitude Era when wrestling was at its height. He wrestled during the New Generation era, and just as the Attitude Era was about to explode, Montreal Screwjob, and then into the wastelands of WCW, where you had a $5 million contract, and guess what? You had no push whatsoever. Biggest moment that you had, well, biggest two moments was, you wearing the iron over your chest for Goldberg to spear you, and you being the referee at Starcade 97, for the Hogan versus Sting match.
Which
But
he admitted that was lame.
everybody and their mama knew it was lame. But the thing is, I understand why he's upset. But at the end of the day, the true wrestling fans, we know. But like I stated, he's kind of forgotten
Because of the newer
because
generation, how
new
he's been
generation people really wasn't watching that at the
right.
time.
And
Wrestling wasn't always cool. People used to jank on you or roast you for watching wrestling before the Attitude Era. So you walking around in damn Bret Hart shirt back then during the New Generation, people was calling you lame. People was calling you a nerd. People was
be-
calling you everything but the child of God.
but
When the
that's because
Attitude Era,
but that's because Brett didn't have that great mic skills. But you started to have a feeling with Brett when he and Sean. That wasn't just scripted. That was real.
yeah,
Especially
that was
when
real.
Sean's had to cut that Sunny Days promo.
What's so funny about the Sunny Days promo is, when you go back and look at it, Sean was the one having Sunny Days.
Yo, yeah, we know that. Well,
Which
they,
I
they
don't,
didn't call him the.
which I don't blame him. I don't want the rain to come no time soon either. So especially back then, but yeah. I mean, Bret Hart, I'll still put him as a babyface, man, because guess what? I wouldn't look. A lot of people will get on to you about certain stuff, but a lot of times you are forgotten. You're not revered as much as Stone Cold is. You're not revered as much as The Rock is. You're not revered as much as John Cena is. Those guys, even Hulk Hogan, regardless of the stuff that happened, they're not revered like those guys. You should be, but you're not, because you didn't wrestle and you wasn't at your heyday when wrestling was at its height. You was lost during the New Generation, and guess what? Just as the Attitude Era was about to pick up, you got exiled into the wastelands of WCW. So I don't blame him for how he feels. I wish that he would tone it the hell down at times,
It's not
but
gonna happen.
but yeah, I understand that. I am forgotten. I have to do things in order to keep myself relevant. And the thing is, he keeps talking about Goldberg. He even admitted Goldberg told him, watch the kick, as he threw him up against the rope. He literally admitted it.
What do
Watch the
you?
kick.
What did you also thought of Brett when he insinuated that Vince and Sean had a sexual relationship?
He's not the first person who said that. If you go back and look at there's an interview with the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, the GOAT tag team. They said the same thing. So that's not the first time I've heard something like that. So
I,
you
mm, I
you
heard
hear
from Jim. I heard from Jim Ross. Jim Ross debunked it. He thought a sexual relationship. He said, "Look, Vince saw Sean Vince saw Sean as a young Vince McMahon, defiant, attitudinal, and granted, it was easy for Vince to build a rapport with Sean because Sean wanted to push the button. Sean wanted to do things his way. He was anti-establishment. But I don't know about a sexual relationship. I think Brett is
well,
reaching
but like I said, that's not the first time I've
it.
heard something like that.
And I know that, champ,
The
because you'll
Road
always
Warriors said it. A couple of other guys,
and I know you
Yeah.
I know and I know you would also always say everybody ain't lying. But where's the proof?
I mean, where was the proof on all the bullshit that Vince McMahon was doing at one point? So, I mean,
Well, we kind of know
where
now.
was the proof at when But hey, man, look, I always
Yeah,
say, man,
but but I will say Brett as a babyface or tweener. It
yeah,
seems like with the newer generation, they look at Bret Hart as the modern version of the old man get off my lawn.
Yeah.
That's how Bret Hart comes off to the younger generation. I don't like. I mean, look, Bret Hart, you may not necessarily like as far as his mic skills. Bret's biggest problem is that he took a lot of things too seriously. Jim Cornette has said that. A lot of people have said that about Bret. He took the business, he took everything too damn seriously. And I think that's what led to a lot of his problems later down the road. And we mentioned this, champ, with Bret. He went through a lot of things in his life. I mean, obviously, the loss of his brother, rest his soul, the late great Owen Hart. I mean, the loss of your parents, and then your career.
Then the
So
divorce. And then he got
the
divorced.
stroke. Let's not
Yeah.
forget the stroke that he had. I understand Bret having all these emotions, but him still complaining about it, even though he is true, what do you still hope to accomplish if you're Bret at this point?
Hey.
Although he does sound a lot more like Jim Cornette nowadays, which is why I kind of like Bret Hart.
Again, if I hey, if I give me a mic and I'm gonna tell my truth. As far as the Goldberg thing, let that go. But if you got some other truths you want to tell, go ahead and tell them. But like I stated, I think a lot of that is because he's forgotten. And like I stated, he'll never be forgotten by true wrestling fans. But as far as people always view the new generation era as the lost generation.
Right.
I'm just being real. They view it as the lost generation. They had their few highlights here and there, but it's the lost generation of wrestling. But now it wasn't the attitude there. He wasn't there when everything exploded.
But Bret did one, but in WrestleMania 13, champ, when he turned heel, he didn't mind doing it for Steve.
No,
Stone Cold Steve Austin has admitted, I would not be where I am today if it were not for Bret Hart.
nope.
And I
He
think
admitted.
people, yeah, he admitted it. And it's a mouthful to hear from Steve, who I have argued as the GOAT, although a lot of people, the newer generation, say John Cena. I think they say it because of Cena in his 20 years of the business being the 17-time champion. But I still have Austin as my GOAT because of what he meant, even though he did it for a short period of time for 5 years. Hell, you've argued for Ric Flair, which I have no problem with whatsoever,
Yeah,
because he was able to do that, have the type of success even without social media.
yeah,
And I think Austin, although he did it for a short period of time, the reason why I consider him as the GOAT, because without him, would the WWE, or back then WWF, would be where it was? Because remember, they had to take out loans in order to make payroll.
yeah,
Financially, they were in the shitters.
yeah,
And Austin, look, kind of like with Cena, was an underdog. When John Cena first came to the WWE, thank God for Stephanie McMahon when she recognized him when he was doing a rap battle.
yeah,
When she asked John, "Hey, rap about this tuna can that I'm eating," and that's when he finally got the doctor of thugonomics, Austin. Even though you credited Vince Russo, Chip, but at the same time, Austin, he created Stone Cold Steve Austin from
yeah,
watching that HBO special on Richard Kuklinski. And now his ex-wife at the time created the nickname Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think Steve makes an argument as to go, although 5 years, and even though he had that neck injury by Owen Hart, rest his soul, back in '97 at SummerSlam at the Meadowlands here in my state, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Steve was able to overcome that and still have great success with the Attitude Era, arguably the best rivalry in wrestling history with he and The Rock. Although you
hmm
can argue Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, you can argue a lot of great ones, but Steve and Rock is definitely up in that ballpark conversation. But as far as with Bret, again, Steve saying he wouldn't be where he is if it were not for Bret. I think with Bret, he should really like move on, especially with the Goldberg situation, because you knew Goldberg coming in to that match had no wrestling skills whatsoever. He was a former UGA Bulldog. He wanted to play football. The only
Yeah.
reason why he transitioned into wrestling because I believe his accountant convinced him to go into wrestling.
Yeah. Basically, you summed it up in a nutshell.
Well, that's why he called me New Jersey Genius.